Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us during your lunch hour to learn a little bit more about Google Forms and some advanced tools and features that are available through this G Suite app. My name is Katie McInerney. I am the training coordinator with the Office of Information Technology. I help lead Google workshops and coordinate technology training across campus. And Google Forms is actually one of my favorite apps within Google. So I'm excited to talk to you about some additional tips and tricks that I think will be helpful for you as you're continuing to design and develop your forms for various projects and business needs. Also joining us today is Don Schmidt. He's another one of our Google trainers here within OIT, and he's going to be acting as our moderator today, and he's going to keep an eye on the Q&A document. So if there are any questions, he will definitely let us know throughout the session, and I'll talk to you in just a minute a little bit more about how the Q&A process works with YouTube Live events. As for our agenda, we have a lot planned for you in this hour. We're excited to share a lot of these tools with you. And first of all, we're just going to start off with a very brief overview about YouTube Live and again, how to submit your questions during the session. Then we'll move on to the advanced forms features. Starting out with the landing page, we'll talk about custom themes, sections, and branching within your form, file attachments, response validation, pre-filled forms, embedding your form code into a website. There's also notification rules that you can configure along with add-ons. And we'll take questions throughout if they are appropriate for the topic that we're on. If not, we'll probably just hold the additional questions to the end and we'll answer them at that point. As for submitting your questions, if this is your first time experiencing a YouTube Live event, I can only present information outward. So there's no two-way communication within this particular conferencing tool. So we have created a Google Doc that everyone should have edit access to, and you can find the URL to the document below the YouTube video, just in the description for today's event. And feel free to copy that URL, paste it in another tab or window, and as questions come to mind, just go ahead and type them into the document. And like I said earlier, Don will be watching that, and if there are any questions that come up, he will let us know and we will try to tackle those at that time. Also, know that there is a slight delay in the time that I am actually talking and presenting the information and the time that you receive it. There could be a 30-second to a minute-long delay. So that can impact the Q&A process. So just bear with us during that time if that becomes an issue. The document is also helpful not only for questions, but also to let us know if you're experiencing any kind of technical difficulties. So if there are audio issues or if the slides freeze up, let us know on that document and we'll be able to address them. Also in the Google Doc, you will see a link to an evaluation. We definitely value everyone's feedback regarding our training events, and we want to make sure that we are on target with our content. So if you have any suggestions for training, if you want to see new workshops on the schedule, definitely let us know. And the evaluation is a great place to communicate those thoughts with us. And it will take about 2 minutes to fill out. So if you can just hold off until the end of the event and then click on that link and let us know what you thought about today's session. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with our advanced Google Forms tools. And we are going to kick this off with the Forms landing page. Now, this might not be so advanced. However, a lot of users don't know that this particular page exists. So that's why we wanted to bring it to your attention today. Basically, the landing page is available for various reasons. Number one, you can get to it by visiting forms.google.com, and I'll take you out there in just a minute and walk you through some of the options. But you can also access the template gallery from this landing page. Google has some generic templates available for various form purposes, depending on what your needs are and what your project is. So you don't have to start from scratch. It's really helpful and a nice time saver based on what your needs are. We also have some NC State branded templates that are available. So if you wanted to send something out that looks official for the university, you definitely have some options there, and I'll show you those in just a minute. Also from the landing page, you can easily access recent forms, you can sort, you can filter, you can search for any form that you're a collaborator on. And there are also some helpful settings available. There is a help search field that allows you to find additional resources or step-by-step instructions based on what you need and what you're looking for. And there is a feedback button that is extremely helpful when communicating your thoughts directly to Google. So let's take a look at that page. I'm just going to click on this link here. It'll take us out to the landing page. At the top of your screen, you can see the option to start a new form, and then you can also take a look at the template gallery. So let's click on template gallery. And you'll have two tabs available. The first does show several NC State branded options, and you can click on any of these and start off your new form and create your questions as needed. You see there are some with images. This is a bell tower view. Here's one of the Hunt Library. And then there's some more clean, basic branded options for you, kind of a grayscale and one with the red brick. So when you do want to start to create your form using a template, all you have to do is click on the template option that you like best, and it will open up, and then you can just start adding your questions in your fields. You would need to rename this and title this appropriately, but then you can just start from there and move forward. So that would be your template gallery for NC State branded templates. Google also has several general form templates available. And so we'll take a look at some of these options, several education specific, some personal. You'll see a party invitation or RSVP form, event registration. Here are a few more that are more business focused. Event feedback, evaluations, time off request, that sort of thing. So definitely some nice options for you. And they even have questions that they suggest that you include, and question types and formatting, that sort of thing. So hopefully that will save you some time based on what you're working on. Yes.
Before we jump into it, there's several people that have joined afterwards. They may not know how to get to the code.
Okay. Don just shared that there are some people who have just joined, so I will get back to the slides and let you know how we got to this particular page in just a minute. So along with the template gallery on the forms landing page, you can also search for forms that you own or that you're a collaborator on. You can see here some recent forms. You can sort and filter by who owns that particular document. You can also switch between the grid view and a list view. So just based on if you're a visual person or not, if you can find what you're looking for based on the look and the contents of your document, you can switch to the grid view, which is more of an icon-based view, or if you like things lined up, you can switch back to that list view. You have some additional sort options here based on if it was last opened or modified. You can sort by the title, and then you can do a typical folder search for the form that you're looking for. And then finally on the landing page over here on the left-hand menu, you have settings help, and feedback. Under settings, there's not a lot to configure here, but one thing I did want to show is the template option. Sometimes people let us know that they don't see the template gallery show up, and it could be because this particular setting is unchecked. So if you don't see template gallery, the only way to enable it again is to go underneath the Forms menu, click on Settings, and make sure this box is checked. And then you will see the template suggestions appear. Also under that left-hand menu is Help and Feedback. So here's your help search. If you are looking to do something in particular and you're not sure how to do it, you can just type in your search term there and it will provide a list of results matching your search. Also under Help is the Send Feedback button, which we've seen across G Suite apps. Google is doing a really good job of making the connection or the feedback process a lot simpler with their users and with their clients. And so it's really nice to see that they are encouraging feedback from their users, and they really want to hear what users are thinking about their products. So you should see a feedback button on most of the apps. Typically it's under Settings, or there's a little button that should be visible somewhere in the interface. And then you can just type in what feedback you want to provide to Google. So if you wish it did something different or it provided a different feature or tool, this is a great way to share with Google directly. You can also include a screenshot if there's a particular visual that you wanted to provide to Google to explain what your feedback is in a little bit more detail. You can also include screenshots. So we appreciate that. And again, highly encourage you to utilize that because they are listening to their users and making enhancements based on that feedback. All right, so again, that was the Forms landing page. For those of you who might have joined late, you can get to that page by visiting forms.google.com. All right, so we'll move on to custom themes. Google has done a great job in the past few months to elevate the theme options and the ability to customize your forms based again on user feedback. So we're really excited to see these new options come about. Users can now customize the header image that appears on your form. You can also upload a custom image if there's nothing that you want to use from their default gallery of images. Users can also customize the overall theme color and background along with the font style. So they're definitely making some progress here. One thing to note though, if you are customizing your theme and you want it to meet brand standards, I do highly recommend that you review the brand page for NC State just to make sure you're in line with what the recommendations are there. But let's take a look at what our theme options are. So here's an example form. It's just your basic red background. And I do want to customize this a little bit more. Maybe I want to add a background image and some colors that match that image. So when you're ready to customize your theme, you can click on this art palette icon at the top, and you'll see a menu appear and the ability to choose a header image, edit your theme color, background color, and font style. So let's go ahead and start at the top and take a look at what images are available. You'll see there are several different categories that images are divided into. So based on the purpose of your form, you can search around and see if you find something that's appropriate. I'm just going to add some bubbles here, nice and colorful, and click on Select, and you'll see that it will change what my form looks like, and it will automatically suggest some theme colors there for me. Now, if I wanted to change my header image, if I determine, I just don't like the bubbles, I can come back out to the header gallery at any time and change my background. You can also upload your own image just by selecting a photo from your computer. I know in the past they were pretty specific about the dimensions that the image needed to be. I can't remember off the top of my head what that is. You can probably do some digging to find out what those stats are, but you might see some error messages populate as you try to upload images just based on what their restrictions are. So that's just a heads up. Sometimes that can be frustrating when it won't accept your image. So that might be worth doing a little bit of research on to make sure you have the appropriate sized image before you upload it. If you do use Google Photos and Google Albums, you can also search through the photos that you have available within your drive. So I'll just pick a new image to show you how it changes and how, again, it tries to pick a background theme color that works with the image that you selected. You do have the ability to change that theme color. If you don't like what Google suggests, you can also add a custom color as well. And then you can, again, choose what your background color is and change your font style if you want. They don't have a lot of options in the font area. I'm hoping to see that expand a little bit more down the road. That might be something good to provide additional feedback to Google about, but it is nice to at least have some options. And when you're done adjusting your theme, you can click on the X and it will remove that. All right, so we'll head back to our next tool. Actually, there are two features that we're talking about, sections and branching. So we'll start with sections first. And the first thing that I like to address when it comes to creating sections is that sections are basically new pages in forms. They don't just take you to a new grouping of questions. It actually creates a brand new page, and that can sometimes be confusing because the lingo isn't consistent necessarily with other Google tools. So anytime you create a section, you are creating a brand new page of questions. When you create new sections, you can add a title, a description, again, whatever questions you need to include. You also have the ability to merge sections. So if you do split out multiple categories of questions into various sections and you determine, you know what, I'd rather just have all these questions on the same page, you can simply merge those. You don't have to recreate all of your questions all over again. It's nice to have that merge feature. You can also duplicate your sections. So maybe you just want to make some slight tweaks and you don't want to recreate an entire section all over again. It's nice to have the ability to copy and just go in and make some edits here and there. If you have several sections that you create and you determine that you want to reorder them and organize them differently, you can easily move your sections around. And I'll show you how to do all of this from the menu option in just a minute. And of course, you have your delete option. So if you wanted to get rid of a section altogether, you can simply click delete and it will remove that section at once. So along with sections, we thought it would be nice to also talk about branching here. Branching is a wonderful tool that allows you to skip and jump to various pages based on how a user answers a question. So if a user answers in a certain way and they don't need to go on to the next page, they can skip to page 3. You can configure that within your form. So it's really helpful and can also be a great time saver for your users. So with branching, you can determine if your users need to skip to the next section based on how they answer a question, if they need to go to a section that's farther along in order, or if they just need to go straight to the submittal screen. Branching is only available, however, for 2 different question types. You can only configure branching with multiple choice questions and drop-down questions. So let's take a look at an example. And we will start with creating sections, and then I'll show you how to add branching to your questions. So this is just a conference example form that we looked at earlier. And as we scroll through, everything is in one section, everything is one page. So taking a look at some of our questions, it might make sense to group them differently. So let's see, the email, phone number, those are basically contact fields. So why don't we group these in a separate section and make a new page for the email, address, and the phone number. So when I want to create a new section, I just click on the question where I want the section to be added below. So after we ask our users if they're going to be attending the conference, then we can create a new section and talk about contact information. So once you select the question where you want the section to be entered below, you'll have this right-hand menu, and you would click on the Add Section icon, and it will split your questions. You'll see that it has clearly defined a new section, and you can add a title. So we'll call this Contact Information. You can include a description if you want, if you needed to explain the section a little bit further, why you're asking for this information, you have the ability to do so there. And then we'll also jump down. We have some questions related to meals and snacks. So why don't we add another section under phone number, and this will be for meal selection. Okay, so now you can see clearly that we have 3 sections. It will also tell us up at the top, section 1 of 3. As we scroll down, section 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. Next to the sections, you should see a 3-dot menu or a More menu, which provides some additional features for you. So if you click on that menu, that's where you can get your section options. If you want to duplicate a section, if you want to move a section, I'll click on that and show you how simple it is. Maybe you changed your mind and wanted the meal selection to come before contact information. You can simply click on this up arrow and it will switch out your section order. Or if I change my mind again, I actually want meals to be the last section, click on the down arrow and it will reorder it for you. So I'm going to click on Save there. Also under your section menu, that's where you can find Delete, and that's where you can find the ability to merge. So if I did change my mind and I thought, you know what, email, address, and phone number should be with that first section, I can click on Merge, and it will simply get rid of that title and get rid of that section break. So now those 2 questions are with my first section. So I'm going to actually add that section back, and we can talk about branching. All right, so in our first section, we have the question, will you be attending the conference? This is a great place to talk about branching. If we were requiring everyone to fill this out, regardless of if they were attending the conference or not, if a user selects no, I'm not going to be attending the conference, then we don't need to collect additional contact information. We don't need to collect their meal preferences. We don't really need anything else from them except they're not coming, so we don't have to continue contacting them. So if we wanted to, we could allow this user, whoever clicks on no, to skip right to the submittal screen. And that will save them time from having to click through every single page of this form. So in order to enable branching, we would highlight or make active that particular question. And there's a More menu for the question here at the bottom right-hand corner. We would click on the More menu. And if branching is available, it will appear here in the list of options. It's not called branching in the list of options. It's called Go to Section Based on Answer. But we want to click on that and make it active. Once it's activated, you'll see some additional choices for each answer option. So if the user answers yes, that they will be attending the conference, we definitely need to collect additional information. So we want them to go on to the next section. If that user answers no, this is where we choose how to handle that user from that point on. So once they click on next to move on in the form, we don't need them to fill out section 2. We don't need them to fill out section 3. We need to take them straight to the submittal form. So that's when we can click on submit. If they're a maybe, we would still probably want to collect additional information, so we would leave that alone. I highly recommend testing this out before you send it to your users to respond. And a very easy way to test is to click on the preview button at the top of your form. So we'll jump down to this particular question. Will you be attending the fall conference? If I say yes, it will take me to the next page. If I click the back button and select no, and then the next button, it will take me straight to the submittal screen, which is exactly what we want to happen. Then the user can click on submit and be done. So there's some logic that's involved in branching. I think it's very helpful to do some prep work to know ahead of time before you start building your form, what questions are you going to ask? How do you want to handle the behavior based on what the user answers for that question? So go ahead and kind of build out a draft before you start creating and building your questions in your form. I think that will help save you time in the development process as well. All right, so we'll move on to the next tip, which is being able to allow users to upload files and attach files to a form. This is semi-new to Google Forms. It's probably been around for a little over a year. It's gone through some adjustments over time, and it may continue to evolve as Google receives feedback. But we're really thrilled that it's an option. There are some limitations, and so I'm going to try to touch on those this afternoon as well. But basically, file attachment allows users to upload files and documents to a form. They can choose a file from their local machine or from Google Drive, which is really nice. However, as the creator or an owner of the form, you can only use file attachment in forms that live in your My Drive, not for forms that live in a team drive. So we're hoping that will change down the road, again, as Google continues to enhance their products. But at this point, you can only use the file attachment question type in forms that are living in your My Drive. And you would add file attachment as a question type. So you would just add a question as you normally would and choose file attachment as the type. As the owner or editor of the form, you get to select what type of files you want to allow respondents to attach. You can also determine the maximum number of files that you want respondents to attach and the maximum file size. So here's a quick screenshot of what that looks like. We'll actually go out to a live form in just a second and show you that process. Another thing to note is that it also requires users to log in to their Google account in order to add an attachment. So if your users or if your audience, if you're not sure if they all have a Google account, that could cause a challenge. When they click on the form or when they start to complete the form, Google will pop up a notice that says you do need to log in order to complete this form. And once they do log into their Google account, their name or the account name will be appended to their file. So you will be able to easily recognize who uploaded which file. And I'll show you examples of that as well in just a second. As far as how you access the files that are uploaded and attached by your respondents, there are several different places that you can find or access those files. One place is in the Responses tab, and the other place is actually in the spreadsheet of responses. And then they also live in the same My Drive folder that your form was created in. So you'll have a new folder that's created that you'll notice that's labeled file responses, and then you'll be able to access those uploaded files from that location. One thing that I do want to note here that's not quite as obvious to some users is that if you have editors, if you are the owner of a form and you have added editors to that form, they do not automatically have access to the files that are uploaded by respondents. So you do have to grant access to your editors or to other collaborators who need to see those files in order for them to be able to open them and view them. So that's just one additional thing that you have to consider, that just because you have an editor on your form, they do not automatically get access to the files. All right, so let's take a look at how to add a file attachment question to a form, and then we'll take a look at where you can find those files that have been uploaded. So this is another example of a form. There are a few file attachment questions that are already added just for you to kind of see what it looks like. But we're actually going to add a brand new file attachment question. And again, we're going to highlight the question where we want to add the field below. So I'm just going to add this new question below the name of the user. After they enter their name, then I want them to upload a file. And so I would add a new question by clicking on that plus sign, and we'll just call this upload your assignment. And from the question type menu, we will choose file upload. Here, Google will let you know where the files will be uploaded. So it will tell you that the files will be saved to the form owner's Google Drive. Respondents will be required to log in. And then you can click on continue. And this is where you can enable certain types of files to be uploaded. So maybe you're asking for an audio file or a video, or you only want a PDF. So you can definitely determine what formats to accept. If you do not enable specific file types, then users can attach any type of file that they need to. This is where you can select the maximum number of files. Why there are only 3 options here, I don't know. But you can choose from 1, 5, and 10. Maybe that, again, is an area for feedback if you would like to see different options in that drop-down field. And then you can also edit the maximum file size. You'll see what your options are. And you have the ability to configure what the maximum total size is for all of the files that are uploaded. And if you want to change that limit, you can click on the change button here. It will take you to your settings. And from this last section is where you would determine the maximum total size for all of those files. All right, so that's how you actually create or add a file attachment question to your form. Again, if you wanted to preview that, you would click on preview. You can see what users would see with that question added. If you click on add file, then it will take you to a window where you can select files from your device. So I'll just add a PDF file there. Or if you wanted to choose a file from my drive, you can simply search through your drive files and find what you need. So I didn't save my earlier one, so I'll just find an example from Drive. And then you would submit. So that's what it looks like when you actually add a file attachment question and what the users see. Now, once those questions, or once those files are uploaded and attached and submitted by your respondents, then I'm going to walk through the different places that you can actually go and find them. So under responses, you can see which documents were uploaded. So we have several different file attachment questions, and you'll also note that the account name is appended to each file. So you'll see Katie, and here's our training account as well. So you can easily know who submitted that file. You can click to open it if you have access. That one I didn't have access to. Let's try one of these. There we go. So very easy to find them there. Also, if you have your spreadsheet linked, you can open up your spreadsheet and you'll see links to all of those files as well. And you can open them from your spreadsheet. And then finally, all of these files are also being saved to a new folder in the same location as your form. So wherever you created your form, that's where your new folder will be created for those files that have been uploaded. You can double click. You'll see an individual folder has been created for each file attachment question that you have in your form. And if you open up those folders, you'll also see a list of those files. So hopefully that is something that might be helpful for you. It's definitely been beneficial for various purposes across campus. I'm going to close out of those tabs. All right, so let's move on to response validation. Response validation is really helpful if you're looking for a specific type of response from your users. You can create or build kind of formulas or rules to cater to certain responses that you're looking for. Response validation is available for short answer questions, for paragraph questions, and those with checkboxes. And we have a few examples here. There's so many options that you can try out and test based on, again, what your needs are. But you'll see this example, what is 2 plus 2? You can actually type in a rule to say 4 must be entered in this answer box in order for the user to continue. So if they enter the wrong thing, they won't be able to continue, and they will be, informed that they need to try again. Another example is being able to designate a certain character length. If you're looking for a response that needs to be, a certain number of characters, you can create a rule to make sure that users are submitting a long enough response. So I'm going to show you a few examples for this. We're going to head out here to our example form. One example that I want to show you is with the email address. So this is a short answer. If we click on the More menu, we can activate the response validation item, and you'll see it's going to guide you through creating your rules. Now with the email address, there's actually a rule already created. I'm going to click on Text, and then you'll see an email option exist already. And so basically what this is going to do is make sure that an appropriate email format is submitted. So it's not going to make sure that it's an active email address, but it is going to look for the components of an email before it allows the user to continue. So you can create a custom error message if the user doesn't enter an appropriate email format. You can respond back and let them know what they need to do in order to move forward in your form. So we're just going to enter here, please type a valid email address. And I'll show you examples of what this looks like to the user once we have all of our response validations completed here. So that is one example for email. Phone number is another example I'm going to share with you. Again, we're going to go to the More menu for this question, activate response validation. And this time we're actually going to choose length, because maybe we need to make sure the area code is included in the phone number. So we want to look for a minimum character count of 10 digits. So we need at least 10 characters to be entered. And we can add our custom text. Please make sure to include area code. And then finally, I wanted to show how you can set up rules for checkboxes. This is really helpful if you need users to select a certain number of answers before they can continue. So I wanted to show you for the snacks question, what snacks can you contribute to the conference? Maybe you need each attendee to bring 2 snacks. So you can create a response validation for users to select at least 2 options. So again, we have custom error text that we can compose. Please choose at least 2 items. But you'll see in that drop down, you can select at most, select exactly. So you definitely have lots of variables there for creating rules. Okay, so now that we have all of our response validation examples entered, I did just want to show you what the user will experience with this. So let's see, we started with the email address. If I just entered in test and tried to continue, you'll see that custom error message that we created. It's letting the user know we need a valid email address in order to continue. So then I can make sure to have all the components of an email address included. And as far as phone number, I do not include 10 characters, it's going to provide that error message. So I need to go back and make sure I have at least 10 characters in that field. And we also set up the response validation rules for the checkboxes here. What snacks can you contribute? If I only check one box, I'm going to see that message. Please make sure you choose at least 2 items so I can make sure to have 2 boxes checked, and then I can submit the form. Hopefully you will find those rules to be helpful for you when creating your forms, and it's nice to be able to guide your users and make some of their answers consistent, if at all possible. All right, speaking of consistency with answers, Prefilled Forms is actually one of my favorite advanced tools using Google Forms. Prefilled Forms basically allows you, as the editor or the owner of the form, to pre-populate answers in the form that you send out. And it also generates a unique URL that you can send out to your audience or to a specific user group. So one example for using prefilled forms is the screenshot that you see here on the slide. What class are you taking? Maybe I know that I'm sending this form out to 3 different classes of students. And sometimes my students may forget which class they're in or which section they're in, and I want to make sure that I'm consistent with the answers that I get and make sure I get an appropriate response from the students in that section. So I can create a form and go ahead and answer what class are you taking, type in the appropriate class and section, and send that unique URL to the students in that particular class. Therefore, the question's already answered. Students don't have to worry about it. It saves them time. And I know I'm getting an appropriate response for each user in that class. So let me show you real quick how to set this up. We're going to go back out into our test form. We do have that particular example here. What class are you taking? And in order to get that unique URL, you can click on the More menu in the top right-hand corner, select the Get Prefilled Link option. It will basically open up the form in a preview mode, and it will try to walk you through what you need to do here in the bottom left-hand corner. So it tells you to go ahead and type in your answers and then click the Get Link button. So here I know that I'm sending this particular form to students in my History 101 class. You can scroll all the way down to the bottom, Get Link, and it has generated a unique URL for this form. So I can now take that unique URL and I can either send it in an email, I can add it to a website, whatever I need to do. But when I paste that unique URL into a browser, you'll see that it opens up with that answer already completed and filled in. So the students can skip right over it and continue on. If I wanted to get another pre-filled form for, let's say, my History 102 class, I could simply go back to the More menu, click on Get Pre-filled Link. This time I would type in History 102, scroll down, Get Link, and now I have another unique URL that I can copy and send out as needed. We use this a lot in our team. We use it a lot in our evaluation. So if you click on our evaluation at the end of this class, you will notice that instructor names are already pre-filled because typically we have the same instructors who teach the same classes. So that saves our training attendees time. We also try to go ahead and pre-fill the class name because we have such a large list of offerings. So we try to help out our users in that way. So we do use pre-filled forms a lot in our line of work. All right, let me try to close out some of these tabs and clean up my desktop for you. Form response destination. This basically allows you as the editor or the owner to determine where you want your answers to populate. How do you want to get those answers and where do you want them to live? So from the response tab in the editor view of your form, you can determine if you want to populate responses from your form into a brand new spreadsheet, or you can also populate responses into an existing spreadsheet that you have. So that is up to you to determine. And you would choose that again from the Responses tab under the More menu. And I'll show you that in just a second. You also have the ability from that menu to unlink any spreadsheets that you have connected. So maybe you just don't want to collect data in a spreadsheet anymore. You can unlink that spreadsheet, or maybe you wanted to link it to a new spreadsheet. You do have the ability to do that. And you can also choose to delete all of your responses from that More menu. So I'll show you very quickly how to do that. Again, back over in our example form, we're going to click on the Responses tab. And it already has the Google Sheets icon there for you. If you click on that, it will open up a window to select the response destination. You can go ahead and accept the default, sure, open up a brand new spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will be saved in the same folder as your form. So wherever your form was created, that's where your spreadsheet of responses will also be saved. Or if you want to browse through existing spreadsheets, you can find a spreadsheet that already exists, and it will create a new tab in that spreadsheet to populate your form responses. So I'm actually going to go back and just accept create a new spreadsheet. That's absolutely fine. Once it's linked, it will open up your new spreadsheet, and you can see all of the questions in your form and what those responses were. Again, back over on your Responses tab from that More menu, this is where you can change your response destination. So if you change your mind, you can click on Select. It'll open up that Select Destination window again. This is where you can unlink your form. So at any time, if you no longer want your data to populate in that file, you can unlink. And you also have the ability to download your data in a CSV file. If you don't want to link it to a Google Sheet, you can print your responses from this menu as well. And there's your delete option. All right, so we will close those tabs down and head back to our slideshow. So the next tool we wanted to share with you is regarding notifications. So you do have the ability to enable notifications. So anytime there's a new response to your form, you can be notified, and you can also determine how frequently you want to get those notification emails. So first of all, you do have to enable notifications from your form. That can be done under the Responses tab, and I'll highlight that for you in just a second. And then you can go into your spreadsheet to determine how frequently you want to be notified. So let's first take a look at the form where you would enable notifications. Again, it's under Responses and the More menu. You want to make sure that first option is checked to get email notifications for new responses. And then you can open up that spreadsheet. And from the Tools menu, then your Responses spreadsheet, that's where you can determine how often you want emails. So under Tools, you would choose Notification Rules, and you can determine if you want to be notified if there are any changes made to the spreadsheet or to the responses, or anytime a user submits a form. Now, if you're sending this out to thousands of people, you might not want to get an email every time one of those users clicks submit. That would be a lot of activity in your inbox. So you might prefer just to have kind of a daily summary sent to you. And if that's the case, you would request the daily digest. So once a day, you'll get an email saying 200 submissions are available for you for this form. Or you can choose to be emailed as forms are submitted. Again, it just depends on your preference there, but you would actually go out into the spreadsheet to determine that. All right. So along with emailing your audience base or linking your audience base to your form, you can also embed HTML code into a website. So this is great if you are directing a lot of people to your website for information or for conference details, whatever it might be. If they're already coming to your website and you need to get information from them, you might as well go ahead and embed your form, and they can fill it out right there on the website. So it's really convenient and allows everything to be located in the same place. In order to find the HTML code, you would go out into the Send button from your form editor and click on the HTML tab, and that's where you would find the code. And you would just copy that code and paste it right into your website. One note here, if you have activated the file upload question type, you will not be able to embed the form into a website. So that's just something to keep in mind. Otherwise, if you're not using the file upload option, you can absolutely embed that code. So let's first take a look at the form example and where we would get the code. So from the Send button in the top right, this is where you have various options on how to send your form out. Send via email, you can grab the URL link, and here's your HTML code. So you can just copy that code, and then depending on how you are hosting your website, you would be able to incorporate that code. Now, this example is just a Google site, really user-friendly if you haven't used Google Sites yet. I definitely encourage you to try it out. They've made a lot of changes and come a long way in the past year. So there is an option to embed from your Google Sites menu. So I'm just going to click on the embed option there and choose to embed the code. So since we copied that HTML code from our form editor, I can just paste it right there. Click on Next. Click on Next. You can preview the form, make sure it looks the way you want it to, and then go ahead and insert. And Google Sites does allow you to do some format changes here. So if I wanted to tweak anything or make it bigger or smaller, I can simply drag and resize as I need to. And so now if we preview, you'll see what users will see and what they'll experience if you have that form embedded on your website. So all they have to do is just go ahead and answer the questions like they normally would. And they can go all the way through and submit. So it's very simple. They don't have to jump out to another website. They can simply fill it in right there where all the other information about your event or your project is living. All right, so that is embedding the form code. Add-ons. Add-ons are exciting because they allow you to basically take your form to the next level with some additional functionality that's provided by a third party. So we do caution you here. We have a few notes to share when it comes to enabling add-ons. First of all, we do highly recommend that you review the comments and the feedback and the star ratings before you activate add-ons. We typically recommend at least a 3-star out of 5-star rating, just because that speaks volumes of other users' experiences, and it could cause some issues with functionality for your Google account. So that's just something to consider. And also make sure you understand what you're agreeing to as far as the data that you're handing over to this third party and the privacy terms. So several of the add-ons do request full access to your Google account and the data in your account. So that's something that you need to be mindful of and make sure it's something that you're comfortable with. Because add-ons are hosted and developed by third parties, there is limited help desk assistance available for you here at NC State. They might be able to detect what could be causing some issues, but they won't really be able to help troubleshoot some of those challenges that you might experience and encounter. So that is something that we try to inform and educate our users about. If you choose to enable these add-ons, you might have to do your own research when it comes to figuring out if there are issues or how to use that product. But I do want to show you how you can locate add-ons, and there are a few that we recommend that might be helpful based on what your use case is when using forms. So I have already enabled a few add-ons. Once you have them enabled, you will see this puzzle piece appear on your menu. So if you don't have any add-ons enabled, you won't see this icon. But you can search through add-ons by clicking on the More menu, and then you'll see the add-ons option there. And you can do some searching. I definitely recommend you kind of talk to other people, you research online. But you can do a search for what you're looking for. I'm just going to go ahead and walk through enabling the form limiter. You click on free, it will open up a window. This is where you have to make sure you have the correct account selected. This is where it will share what type of access it needs from you. And once you have read and feel comfortable with all of those, you can go ahead and click on Allow. So once the add-on is available in your account, it will pop up a message there, and it will go ahead and activate it for you. And if you need to manage your add-ons, you can always go back to the More menu, click on Add-ons. If you want to remove something from your account, it should let you remove it right there. Let's see if I can get back there real quick. I know we're almost at 1 o'clock, so bear with me. Let's see there. So once you have it enabled, you'll have a manage option and you can remove it from your account if you want to. But we do recommend we like to share 2 examples of add-ons that might be helpful to you. The first one is Choice Eliminator 2. It allows answer options to be removed from a question if it has reached the maximum number of selections. So if 5 people have already chosen they want turkey for lunch and there's only 5 turkey sandwiches, it will automatically remove turkey from the list of lunch options. Form limiter is another great add-on. This will allow the form to automatically turn off if the number of maximum responses is reached, or if it is a certain date and time, or based on specific values that have been submitted previously. So there's several options there that you can automate as far as when to deactivate your form. So if you haven't already, check those out, and feel free to let us know if you find any great add-ons out there. We really like finding new functionality that can help make our lives a little bit easier when it comes to collecting data and using Google Forms. So we are here at the end of our session. I'm going to look over at Dawn to see if we have any questions out there. Looks like we are clear to continue. I know it's right here at 1 o'clock, so very quickly I'll walk through these last few slides with you. Here are some additional resources if you do want to take a deeper dive into some of the tools and the features that we shared with you today. These are great resources for you to explore further. We do have additional workshops coming up this month. March is a pretty full month of training, so you can see some of the future sessions that are available for you to register. And you can visit go.ncsu.edu/learnit to find a full list of our workshop offerings available to you. We do have training scheduled all the way through the end of May. So if you know your schedule through the end of May, definitely take a look at what we have available, and hopefully we will see you at future training events. We always encourage users to stay connected to OIT and our training team. We do have social media accounts out there on Twitter and Google+. So if you're not following us yet out there on social media, definitely connect with us. We definitely recommend subscribing to our monthly electronic OIT newsletter. Not only do we have just general technology updates available in that newsletter, but we also have a Google section and a training section every single month. So if you want to stay up to date with Google tools, anything new that's coming out, or any new training offerings that we might have available, that's a great place to go to find that information. A lot of people also don't realize that we do offer custom classes. So if you hear something in one of these webinars or in one of our workshops that you think, you know, my colleagues might need to be aware of some of this functionality, then definitely contact us. We are more than happy to come to you. A lot of departments ask us to come speak during staff meetings or to do a special professional development event or a lunch and learn, and we can cater the agenda based on what your user needs are. So we would love to hear from you and be able to come and talk to your department in a more broadly based manner, again, and we can cater that class to what your unit's needs are. We have another link to the evaluation there, but again, that's on the Q&A document, so hopefully you'll be able to take a minute or two and let us know what you thought about today's session. Was it helpful? Did it include all the content that you hoped it would? Is there anything else that you'd like to know about this particular topic or any other Google event or technology topic that you want us to schedule trainings around? Definitely let us know in the evaluation. All right, one more look at Dawn. We're still good. All right. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us this afternoon for Advanced Forms, and we hope to see you at another OIT training event soon. Have a great afternoon.